If I knew what I'm about to tell you before I got into ultra running, I would have saved myself a whole lot of trouble. Because there are common mistakes that all runners fall for, including myself, including seasoned runner. And these mistakes, especially in training, can set you back by several months. Today I want to walk you through common mistakes and how to avoid them. Hi, my name is Simon. Welcome to my channel. I'm an ultra runner and this channel is meant to inspire you to get out there on trails and have a good time. And I'm making these videos conveying my experience through my running journey, racing 100 milers every month for the past 2 years and having some lessons that can help you be successful on trails. Today I want to walk you through what are common mistakes that runners do, mistakes that I fall for myself even knowing that they exist. Hopefully by increasing awareness of this mistake, you can avoid falling for them and you can progress more seamlessly through your training, because training for an ultra running is a journey, and a journey that is composed of a lot of setbacks. And these mistakes will set you back sometimes by several months, and I want to avoid that. I want you to be able to reach your goal this year. And as a bonus, this is a freebie. One of the common mistake or common misconception amongst runners is that we focus a lot on mistakes that could happen on race day, but I would argue that mistakes that happen on training are mistakes that we repeat day in and day out, and on the long run they have a much bigger impact on your success as a runner. The hardest thing to do as an ultra runner is not what happened between the start line and the finish line. The hardest thing is really everything that happens before the start of a race, everything that you need to do to be ready so that on race day you have a good shot at finishing your race. And today I'm focusing on these mistakes that are more related to training. The biggest mistake, and that might surprise a lot of people, is overtraining, overdoing it, being too ambitious. I love people that are ambitious. I'm ambitious myself, and it's a mistake I often fall for. A lot of people will push too much in training, will not listen to their body, will put crazy mileage, and that is also a great way to get injured. Trust the process. I help you create a training plan. Some people felt that the training plan was not aggressive enough. What I would say is that good. If you can take these weeks to prepare and prepare slowly, that will increase your likelihood of actually succeeding as opposed to squeezing everything. I think it's important first to set goals that are ambitious, something that you will be forced to grow, push, train, and prepare for it, but also make sure to reserve enough time for it. It's not a race to get ready to run your first ultra marathon. Take the time that you will need. Maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's a year, maybe it's 2 years. It's a long process, but trust the process, and rushing to get to that destination is a dangerous thing to do. That's a way to get injured, that's a way to have major setbacks and set yourself up for failure. Whereas if you reserve more time, understanding that training process is not linear, you will have setbacks, you will likely experience injuries, and by reserving more time for your preparation, by not being too ambitious, you will actually reach the destination. Yes, set yourself this big goal. Maybe, let's say for me, running Tour des Géants. Yeah, I want to do that. But setting yourself intermediate goals. Yeah, maybe the future goal is Leadville 100, but let's first do a 50K, and that is by itself a very big goal and something you will need to train towards. Another very common mistake is to focus too much on mileage. Yes, mileage per week is important. Anyone denying that is kind of crazy, honestly. Yes, it is extremely important. Yes, you need to know how much you're running per week, but don't over focus on that. Mileage is not the only thing. What's the pace you're going at? What are your back-to-back long run? What kind of mileage are you doing there? Is there any elevation gain on your training run? Do you train on technical terrain? Mileage is an easy thing to say. I run 70 miles a week, but not all 70 miles a week are the same. And you should not just focus on quantity, but focus also on quality. And a tip that is often mentioned online is run less miles. And I think we live in an era where we want to have some very short message. We want things to be simple. run less mile, and then there's a picture, and then you're like, okay, I'll run less mile. I think life is a little more complex than that, and here's the salty. A lot of people should focus on running less mile so that they can run better miles. It's not just run less miles. If you're doing 30 miles a week, oh, well, do less, 25. 25, okay, do 20. No, it's more, instead of aiming for that 30 miles and your only goal is the 30 miles, how about, yeah, you can dial it down a little bit, but include some hills. And that will help you be a better runner. Is don't just focus on quantity, but also on quality. And beyond mileage, I think there's a lot of things, if you are new to trail running, that are important. It's not just running to get ready for an ultra marathon. The longer the race, the less it's about running. And if you're curious about, well, what else is there other than running, Simon? Well, I have a video about this where I break down by distance what are the new challenges you're going to face and things that you should focus beyond just running. Because yes, running is a big part of it, but you need to train other things. I think this one is probably the most common. I think everyone is guilty of that at one point or the other, is that it seems that a lot of new runners and experienced runners really in training have only one speed. And that speed is not really fast, but not very slow. And that is wrong. You should not run all of your training run at the same pace. That is a big mistake. You're honestly wasting a little bit your time here, because you're going too fast for what would be a slow run, and you're going too slow for what would be a fast run. You have to have 20% of your mileage that are fast quality miles, and you have to have 80% that are about building a strong basis. You can't do it without the 80%, and you can't do it without the 20%. They go together. And the common tip that you will find online that is kind of the summary of that is run slower to run faster. And yeah, that's kind of true, and really that's very much missing the point. Sometimes when people read that, they think they should just take all of their mileage in training and run slower. And that's almost true, but the goal is not just to go slower in general. The goal is you reserve mileage to go slow, to build a strong base, but you have these speed workout, you have these interval, you have these hill repeat. And it's the combination of these two types of workout that will make you progress very quickly as a runner. I used to run all of my mileage at around 8:30, around 8:30 minute mile. And eventually I moved to, okay, my longer run, and I'll reserve some run that I'll be running at 9-10 minute mile. And I'll have some that will be closer to a 7-7:30 minute mile, but that's just a minority of my mileage. And I've seen tremendous progress. But before we dive into that one, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a thumbs up. That is helping me a lot making these videos to help you. A training plan is extremely important. I advise everyone should have one, but it's more of a guideline. And there's different types of personality, and a training plan actually serves different purpose for different types of personality. I would say that myself, I'm the kind of person that tends to overdo it. That would be a common mistake for me, would be, well, I have extra time right now. Instead of doing 10 miles, I'll just do 15 because I have time, I have the energy. And that is a beautiful way to get injured. And a training plan will help you put boundaries as to what you're expected to do. This week is a rest week. You're doing lower mileage. This is what the training schedule is saying. It's not you being lazy. On the flip side, you have people that have very busy life. We're all busy and will prioritize other aspects of their life very quickly, and because of that, then the mileage that they would do, the training plan is telling them, well, you're supposed to do 15 miles today. You have to reserve that time, and having this in written will help you not make excuse and prioritize the workouts. But don't be obsessed with it. Life is more, first of all, life is more important than running. I love running, but this is never the number one priority. I think things like family, friends should have priority over these things. You have something unplanned for work. I'm very busy at work. I know some people are surprised, but yes, I'm extremely busy at work sometimes. Yeah, I had a business trip last week and I could not run during that business trip for 6 days. But I can't really go to my boss and say, yeah, dude, I mean, I'm sorry, I gotta run 20 miles today. I know we have this important meeting, but it's my schedule, man. No, I don't want to lose my job, so I will eat it. But also, even if you have the time, The plan is aspiration to what your body should be able to do, but the reality is that any advice on how to build a plan are based on general knowledge. But how you feel is important too. Knowing the difference of you're adapting, you're building muscle, or you're getting injured. And the worst thing you can do is, I'm feeling something bad in my knee, something is not right, but I have an interval workout today. I guess I'm just doing intervals, and next thing you know, you aggravate your injury. And what could have been resolved in a week or two of lower mileage could take months now. And now, actually reaching that goal that you set at the beginning of the year might not be possible anymore. Why? Because you pushed too hard. It's not because you were lazy, it's quite the opposite. It's because you were not wise enough to see that maybe I should adjust what I'm supposed to do today based on how I feel. There's good pain and there's bad pain. After a race, it's always the same for me. I have pain everywhere, but that's okay. That's normal. I just ran 100 miles. What the hell do you expect? But what I'm looking for is a sign of bad pain, which in terms of level of intensity is usually lower, but it's that nagging pain that everything else is getting better, everything else is healing, but there's something in my ankle. I felt it a little bit when I raced. It was not too bad, but it's just not going away, and that's a sign of injury. And ignoring injury is a terrible thing to do. You need to listen to your body, and you need to understand that injuries happen for a reason. Yes, there's part of it that is bad luck, but don't blame it on bad luck only. Look at yourself, look at what you did. Did I do something wrong here? Did I ignore signs of injury? Did I skip straight training? Did I increase mileage too fast? Am I using very old shoes? How is my form? Try to correct whatever was the reason for an injury. And you won't always be able to find, well, clearly I'm injured because of that. But you can always work on these things and reduce the risk of future injury. And I think that's something that myself I do very well. And I think that's one of the main reasons I'm able to run a 100-miler every month, is because, and you can see it on my Strava, there are times that I'm not running. I'm not running right now because I know something is wrong. And instead of ignoring and making it worse, I take the time to heal. I take the time to ask myself, what is the issue right now? And solving that issue before it becomes a big, big problem. Rest is very important in your training. And that's probably the best part, right? Sleeping. I can sleep. I'm very good at sleeping. It's not being lazy to sleep 7-8 hours a day. It's not being lazy to have rest days. And that's something that takes me, as someone who provides advice for new runner. There's definitely a trend that people will say they skip rest day, they sleep 4 or 5 hours, they're up at 4 in the morning, big workout all the time. Yeah, this is terrible advice. This is terrible, terrible advice. And I think a lot of people say these things because, oh, I'm so tough. Yeah, you're very tough. I'm very impressed. Not really. Actually, put me on the list of not impressed on that one. Skipping rest days, skipping sleeping properly, skipping recovery, skipping tapering, that doesn't make you tough. I'm sorry. What it makes you is an idiot. And I think you need to be careful about some influencer that will say these things because you don't see the full story. Don't trust too much some influencer out there. A lot of them are on what I would describe as a ego boost trip, and they want to sound very tough. It's just that the image that they're trying to convey is just that. It's an image, it's an illusion. What I try to do with my channel is be as transparent as possible. If I feel like crying because I'm being a little bitch, I'm gonna show it. I want you to know how it actually is and not how I would want it to be. So be careful about people saying you don't need to rest, you don't need to sleep, you don't need to taper. And the more unbelievable some stories are, sometimes it's just because of that. It's not real. And I really hope I'm not guilty of that ever, but there are definitely people out there that are extremely guilty of that. Don't trust everything you see, and don't compare. Compare to what you were doing yesterday and what you're doing today, and see the progress that you are making. You have the full story on your journey. Focus on that. Focus on being better tomorrow than yesterday. We want something that works fast. And the get rich quick scheme of running is get fast quick, or run longer quick, or do these 5-minute workout and you'll be a better runner. And I cannot describe how annoyed I am when I see on my newsfeed on YouTube or on Facebook these types of thumbnails, and I know that this is crap. I know that this is terrible advice. If a prince from Nigeria writes to you an email and says that they need $5,000 from you to unlock a $2 million fund and they will pay you back, you kind of know that this is bullshit, right? Well, if someone tells you that doing this quick workout will make you a better runner instantly, be on your guard. Most likely it's bullshit, and that's one of the things that I like about running and ultra running, is that what you'll get out of it is what you put in. There's no shortcut. Yes, there's ways to waste your time and have improper workout, but you'll need to put in the work. And anyone who tells you otherwise is trying to sell you a get rich quick scheme. There is no magic solution. There is no magic workout. There's no secret. Often people will ask me, like, Simon, what's your secret to race so much? And the secret is that there is no secret. The secret is that I train for them, but I also take the time to rest. The secret is that I don't race at full speed ever. I always dial it down a little bit and I listen to my body. The secret is that it's gonna be tough, and the secret is that it's not always fun. That's the secret. Alright, that's it, folks. Common mistakes by runner, both new and seasoned veterans, that we all do and we're all guilty of. Awareness is the key to success here. So I hope this was helpful. As always, thanks for watching.